So let me open the board. Great. So I can see almost 130 people. So thanks for joining, everyone. This is small workshop on AWS to make you understand about what exactly the cloud means and what are all the advantages of cloud and what we can achieve using of cloud. Like mainly we are focusing on Amazon Web Services, AWS, and I'll try to make you understand. So we don't require any prior knowledge to understand what I'm saying. So you can all listen to it with very fresh mind. So you can all listen to it very fresh mind. So I'll take you through from very basics what exactly that IT infrastructure is and how come that cloud helping us in IT infrastructure and what are all the advantages or disadvantages. So I'll try to make you understand about very clearly on that. And you can always, we have a separate question and answer session at the ending. So you can always come up with your doubts, irrespective of whatever it may be. So it can be very basic or whatever it is. So you can always ask me. So I'm here to help you. By the end of this session, you should able to understand what is cloud, and if you want to learn cloud, so why we are learning this cloud. So you should able to understand that. Sure, I'll cover everything. So I can see a lot of messages in the chat box. So I'll try to cover, at least 1 hour. I'll try to take it, and I'll try to cover. And you can always ping me if you have any questions or if you have any doubts. And hope you can see my screen. So I have just opened the paint. So I have just opened the paint, and I'll try to write it down here. AWS. So hope you all can hear me. Okay, hope you all can see this, right? So just message me in the chat box whether you can able to see or not. Yep. Thanks. So the full form of AWS. The full form of AWS is uh, Amazon Web Services. So before entering into this Amazon Web Services, so we'll try to understand what is cloud first. So what is cloud? So you always can ping your answers in the chat box. So whatever the answers that you have in your mind, so you can correct it now. So if you are assuming that cloud is something else, so you can get your right answer now today at the in our workshop. So what is cloud basically? So we always hear a lot of answers on cloud. Cloud is something like a virtualization. Or cloud is something to store the data. Or cloud is something to create virtual machines. Or cloud is something uh, to create like a lot of services in using of respective service provider and all. So before getting into the too technical part, I'll I'll try to drive it from a normal, in the layman language. So what is cloud? So let's take some real-time example. So we all aware of Google Drive. 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 So what is Google Drive? And we know many of us, will use this Google Drive. So why we are using Google Drive generally? So storing, we are storing, we are storing our data in Google Drive. So it can be a videos, or it can be a images, or it can be a test files, whatever it may be. So we always we always use Google Drive to store our data. Can anyone know that how much amount of storage, how much amount of data that we can store in Google Drive? So, a lot of people think that we can store 20 GB of data in Google Drive, or 30 GB of data in Google Drive, or 40 GB of data in Google Drive, or someone messaged me like 2 GB of Google Drive, 2 GB of data in Google Drive. The fact is, we can store unlimited data in Google Drive. We can store unlimited data in Google Drive. We can store unlimited data, not like 2 GB, or not like 3 GB, or not like 4 GB. We can store unlimited. We can store unlimited. We can store unlimited data in Google Drive. We can store unlimited. But initially, we supposed to have some free tier limit, like 20 GB or 18 GB, like something like we have some free tier limit. Up to that free tier limit, we don't need to pay anything. But later on, when you started using more than the free tier limit, so you have to pay for that. So Google Drive also, we can call it as pay as you go model. Pay as you go model. Google Drive also, we can always say that it is pay as you go model. You know what is pay as you go model? So whenever you started learning of AWS, or you started learning of any of the cloud, you always get to hear this terminology like cloud is pay as you go model, or cloud is pay as you go model. If you can understand that particular sentence, you can get the description of it. Pay as you go. It means it is something which you always pay for whatever you use. For example, if I'm using 10 GB in Google Drive, like more than free tier limit, I'll be paying for only 10 GB. If I'm using 30 GB, I'll be paying for only 30 GB. So it means whatever you use, you'll pay for it. So that is called pay as you go model. The same pay as you go model you always hear when you started learning of cloud as well. Like whatever it may be, like Amazon Cloud, Google Cloud, like some public clouds or private clouds or whatever it may be. So here, when we talk about pay as you go model, or when you talk about Google Drive, so what are all the steps? What are all the steps to just to store your data in Google Drive? We always go to the Google, and we always create the Google account first. We always create the Google account, and we will navigate to the Google Drive service, and you will upload your data to store your we upload our data to store your data. So here the question is, when you are storing some data in Google Drive, are you maintaining any physical device with you? So for example, if I want to store my data in Google Drive, so will I maintain any physical device with me? For example, if I want to store my data in some hard disk, I'll always carry the hard disk along with me. Whenever I copied some data in a hard disk, I always copy, and I always carry it along with me. But whenever you stored some data in Google Drive, you will never ever carry a physical device with you, isn't it? So you will never carry any physical device with you. Then where our data is getting stored? If I'm not carrying any physical device with me, where our data is getting stored? So that should get stored physically at somewhere, right? So it doesn't mean it really stored somewhere in the sky or somewhere in the clouds. So it should definitely stored in some physical device. And someone Naveen messaged that it is managed by Google. Exactly. So wherever you stored that, like whenever you stored some data in Google Drive, for sure it will be stored physically at some place or physically at some server. So here, that particular servers are managed by service provider. We always call it as service provider. I'm trying to enter into the technical language. Okay, so if you have any question, you can just message me in our webinar chat. So I'll try to reply that. And anyway, we'll be having a separate Q&A sessions. We can also go through that. Okay. So when I talk about service provider, who is service provider? What is meaning of service provider? Service provider, so who are very new to IT or who are just come out of from the past out, like BTech passed out or degree passed outs, they may not aware of these technologies. So the workshop is mainly for them, so to explain the IT terminologies or to familiar with them. Okay, so when I talk about service providers, the person who is providing service, so for them we'll call it as service providers. For example, let's take a real-time example irrespective of cloud. I want to have a connection, like internet connection to my home. I want to, get some connection. So what I'll do? So I'll just browse in the internet. I'll go with some of the service providers like Act, Geo, or Hathway, whatever it may be. I'll just go with these guys. So Act Internet or Geo Internet or Hathway. Finally, I need internet here. Whoever is providing that internet to me, those are called a service providers. For example, Act is providing a connection to me, so service provider is nothing but an Act. If Geo is providing the service connection to me, so Geo is a service provider for me. Similarly, in even IT also, if you're using something and which is managed by Google, so that is called the service provider is Google there. For example, if I'm using Amazon Cloud, so in this case, service provider is Amazon. If I'm using Google Cloud, the service provider is Google. If I'm using Azure, my service provider is Microsoft. So similar to that, you know, we always look for service provider. Which service provider that I need to use now? So, based on advantages or disadvantages of each service provider, the way how we select it, in our internet. So we always, compare the speed, we always compare the pricing, and based on that, we always take the decision, right? Similar to that, here also, when I talk about cloud, based on that, we'll be picking up what service provider that I need. Okay. So we are talking about Google Drive. So Google Drive, which is something to store our data and which is pay as you go model. And whenever you store some data in Google Drive, we will never ever maintain any physical device with us, because that storage, whatever that we are storing, so that is managed by service provider. In this case, the service provider is Google. Are you guys clear? Any doubts? Fine. So when I enter a little bit into the technical part, a bit technical part. So you understand the Google Drive part, right? Even though cloud is also similar to Google Drive. So that is the reason I just explained you a bit about Google Drive. Even cloud is also nothing but kind of a Google Drive. But Google Drive is a service to just store our data. But here in cloud, we have lot of services and we can use it pay as you go model. Not only just storage, we have many services, hundreds of services that we have in cloud. It can be AWS or it can be Google Cloud or it can be Azure or whatever it may be, AWS or GCP or Azure, whatever it may be. We have lot of services which are provided by these cloud platforms, which are related to the infrastructure, which are related to the machine learning, which are related to the artificial intelligence, which are related to the mobile application developments, whatever, there are a lot of stuff in these cloud technologies. So many people will think that when I talk about, introduction about cloud, many people will think that, so many questions that I used to get, sir, is it have any coding in the cloud? Do we have any coding? Do I need to learn any coding to learn AWS? Or do I need to learn anything else like, operating system to learn the cloud? Or is it a tough? Or do we get the jobs on cloud? So many people that they're supposed to have, a lot of doubts in that. I'm clearly saying that you don't need anything to learn cloud, especially when people are coming to my sessions. I clearly say that when you are coming to my sessions, you can come to my sessions with very fresh mind. You don't require any prerequisites to learn cloud. Cloud is very simple, which I feel, because we don't need to have any IT background. So many people will ask me like, sir, I'm from mechanical engineering, or I'm from electrical engineering, or I'm from petroleum engineering. So can I learn the cloud, or can I learn, like, is it feasible, or like, is it tough for me to learn the cloud? Nothing. No. The answer clearly, it is no. You don't require anything to learn cloud. You can come with a fresh mind, you can learn cloud. Okay. So in a better way, learning of cloud is nothing but just learning of how to use a mobile or how to use a laptop. Simply I says, because especially in cloud, we are not developing anything here. We are not developing anything. We are not developing anything here. Make sure this, we are not developing anything here, because already cloud is existing in the market. There are a lot of services which are available in the market. We are just learning how to avail those services, how to use those services, how to configure those services, where to use the services. Clearly, the fundamental, learning of AWS is nothing but where to use, how to use, where to use, how to use. These are the two principles. These are the two principles. Learning of AWS is nothing but how to use, where to use. Okay. So let's see. Let's open the new one. Yeah. So learning of AWS is nothing but where to use and how to use. As I said, there are a lot of services which are available in AWS. You commonly hear about three terminologies in IT, which is like IaaS, IaaS, SaaS, PaaS. Infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. Infrastructure as a service, software as a service, platform as a service. Okay, so let's talk it in very simple language. Infrastructure as a service. Infrastructure means what generally? Uh, you know, for example, like computer, like when I talk about IT infrastructure, especially when I talk about IT infrastructure, if there is no cloud, if there is no cloud in the market, people will use on-premises infrastructure. So this is a small technical term. Okay, remember this term, on-premises infrastructure. So what do you mean on-premises infrastructure means? If there is no cloud in the market, people has to maintain their infrastructure in their premises. On premises. Premises means, the meaning of premises is nothing but the place where we are. Okay. So for example, um, like in the general, language, like people used to say that, come to my premises. Premises is not a technical word. Premises is a generic word. Premises means the place where you live or the place where you stay. So if people are using on-premises infrastructure means they are maintaining their infrastructure in their premises. They were maintaining their infrastructure in their premises. So people who are very new, they can ask me, it's like, sir, like what is an infrastructure? What is an infrastructure? See, infrastructure means, for example, if I'm not talking about IT, if I talk about my personal life, yes, someone is message like my campus, like my house, or like whatever the tables that I have in my house, or dining table, or like whatever that I call it as my infrastructure. Similar to that, when I talk about IT infrastructure means when I want to set up an on-premises IT infrastructure, I have to procure servers, switches, routers, cables, internet connection should be there, air conditioner should be there. We should have to pay the power bill, power backup should be there. Yes, obviously manpower should be there because someone needs to maintain that, right? So definitely a person should be there to maintain that. If you are not using cloud, if you want to set up on-premises infrastructure, you have to procure all these hardwares. Assume that if you want a startup, like if you want to start a startup, the first thing what you have to do, you have to set up your on-premises infrastructure. After procuring of all these, after procuring of all these, if you are not able to make it, or if you can't make the project as live, or if you didn't get the project, obviously what will happen? Whatever the investment that you does, totally it shows loss, right? So many people struggle with that whenever they want to start a startup company, and they set up all these on premises infrastructure, and if for example if they didn't make it, so obviously they'll go with the losses. In a simple language, layman language, if I say that, if you went to a shop, like you are in a thought, like you want to buy a laptop, um, to do some like photo editing, or video editing or something. In a simple language, I'm saying you, if you want to buy a laptop to do all this, so what you'll do, obviously you'll go for a good RAM, and enough RAM for your applications to manage, and you'll go for like something good graphic card for that, and good storage for that. And after getting the laptop, if you are not using it for video editing and photo editing, and you're just watching for movies, like simply I can say that people who are in engineering, so they all get their laptops to practice the Java language, or practice the C language, or to get to do all those things. But later on we realize that we don't want to practice anything, we just watch movies in our laptops. That's what we do, and that's what I do as well in my engineering. So I asked my father to buy a laptop to practice a C language, and practice the Java and all. Later on, when I get the laptop, I just watching movies in that. More than that, I didn't do anything. So that's what we do. To just watch movies in our laptop, we don't require a high RAM and high CPU, right? We just require a normal RAM and normal CPU. But end of the day, it is obviously it is a loss, right? because instead of spending a 30,000 rupees, we are spending there a 50,000 rupees. So that's what we do. When I talk about a very small scenario, it shows 20,000 or 10,000 rupees loss for us. But when I talk about organization level, enterprise level infrastructure, if you bought a high configuration RAMs and all, and if you are not utilizing it properly, obviously what will happen? Whatever the investment that you put, it shows loss. It shows obviously loss. So that is like, big problem. That is more challenging in IT as well. So that is the reason for coming cloud rapidly into the market as well. So this is one of the reason. And the second reason is slowly I'm entering into the technical part. So guys, hope you are with me. If not, if not, if you want me to repeat something which I explained, you can just put it on a chat box. So definitely I'll do that, because this session is for you. This session is not for to make you, learn cloud or something else. This session is to clear all your doubts. Okay, you can just always ping me, sir, please can you repeat this? Like, if you can just text me that, definitely for sure I'll repeat it. Okay, or if I'm going fast, just ping me in the chat box. I'll try to make it a bit slow. uh, so now when I talk about, so Mohammed, so all these, please go fast. See, this session is not for only you. This session is for other 165 people. So that is the reason I'm just repeating it again and again to make you all understand. So when I talk about this physical infrastructure, when I coming to the cloud, when I coming to the cloud, instead of you maintaining of all this infrastructure, instead of you maintaining all this infrastructure on behalf of you, cloud will help us to maintain this infrastructure. So that's what cloud is doing. For example, instead of, in our colleges we have a server rooms. In our server rooms we always set up the servers, routers, cables, power backups and all. So instead of we set up this power backup and we set up this infrastructure, we have AWS data centers. We have AWS data centers. We have AWS data centers. So in these AWS data centers, whatever that you are requesting to create from our AWS account or somewhere, these will get stored physically in our AWS data centers. So here they will be giving 99.99% of availability and durability to make our applications live. So without having any downtime, so they'll be maintaining our infrastructure. So that is the reason people are always moving into the cloud to maintain, their infrastructure, and without having any downtime, or to maintain their applications without having any downtime. So now, so this is the background of like how they maintain this infrastructure. Then when AWS enters into the market, so we had a small concept that you always should know. Okay, so that is called regions. That is called, we always should aware of regions, availability zones, availability zones. These two that we always should know. So okay, if it is a physical infrastructure, we always procure and we always buy that infrastructure and we always set it in our premises, right? If it is cloud, how we can create this infrastructure? The way to use Google Drive, you always creating the Google account, we always creating the Google account and you always using it, right? You always creating the Google account and we always going to the Gmail if you want, or if you always, for example, if you want to use something else, you will be routing to that particular service, right? Similar to that, you always going to AWS account. You always going to AWS account. So inside this AWS account, you will be having services which are available in AWS. So you can always use these services. Okay, once you logged into the AWS account, you always can able to see the regions which are available. For example, um, if I want to launch some product, or if I want to, you know, export some product, I'll not open, I mean, I'll not do everything in India and I'll not export everything. I'll just try to open the warehouses in each and every country where I want to launch my product, right? Similarly, here, wherever the cloud, like Amazon wants to launch their product, they set up a region. They set up a region. They set up a region. So here, in these regions, so they set up a region. For example, if this is a region, okay, they'll set up a region here. So in India, we have one region called Mumbai region. So we have, in each country, there might be a regions. In those regions, they have the availability zones. They have availability zones. And in those availability zones, they have data centers. If it is an on-premises infrastructure, we are maintaining infrastructure in our premises. If it is, cloud which we are using, we have Mumbai region. So Hyderabad region is not yet started functionality. So Hyderabad region is even under construction. Hyderabad region is still in under construction, so it is not in live as of now. We have Mumbai region, and in Mumbai region we have three availability zones. In Mumbai region we have three availability zones, and it doesn't mean that every availability zone have a three availability zones. So it depends on the usage of that country. In some regions we might have multiple regions, and we might have 6 availability zones, 7 availability zones, and all. But in Mumbai region, we have, based on our usage, AWS launches 3 availability zones, and each availability zone have multiple data centers, and inside that data centers, whatever that we are creating virtually, that will get physically stored. So that is what will happen. Okay. So, but Hyderabad region, we haven't started anything of creating the resources in Hyderabad. Like all of the resources are not available in Hyderabad. In production, no one is using Hyderabad as of now. So once the Hyderabad is completely live, so we'll start using of Hyderabad region as well rapidly. Okay. So let's take the new window. Done. So this creating of infrastructure as a service is nothing but creating of infrastructure in our AWS account. So I'll also show that how we can create that infrastructure, like creating of a VM. I'll show you how to create that in AWS. And coming to the software as a service. In AWS, we also have some of the services. In AWS, we have some of the services which will managed by software as a service and platform as a service. Okay. Software as a service is something related to the Gmail. We have a services. We can directly use it without developing anything. So that we have in AWS. And platform as a services, we have a platform as a services instead of so question and answers, please just wait, so I'll answer you in the last at the ending. Okay, so it's might disturbing for me to always keeping like questions, like we'll end and at the end we'll just with the question and answers. So platform as a service is nothing but um, for example, whenever we use a platform as a service, instead of creating the infrastructure, we can develop code. We can focus on the code directly. We can upload the code there and we can run it. So that kind of services that we have, like instead of like that infrastructure and everything is created by AWS, and we can just go and use it by just uploading our code. So that is called platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, software as a service, and platform as a service. Okay. Yes, for Lambda, there will be a 20 minutes of runtime. Someone is questioned. So now, how to create this AWS account? Will that charge, like, do we need to pay to create an AWS account? So to create an AWS account, we can always utilize a free tier limits. So we don't need to pay any single rupee of AWS account. I'll show you that AWS account and I'll show you how we can use that AWS account as well. So, but initially when you're creating an AWS account, it's just, it will debit 2 rupees from our account, but later on you don't need to pay anything. You don't need to pay anything for that. So you can just simply use it and you can practice the services whichever you want. Okay. So now I'll just try to explain you a simple infrastructure to get understand what kind of services that which are available in AWS. Say for example, if someone came to me and if asked me like, I want to develop an application, I want to develop an application which is something like manabadi.com. Like if I want to develop an application similar to manabadi.com and if I want to put it on a cloud. Okay. So here, if I talk about the entire infrastructure, here, so let me take a new window. For example, if I want to create an infrastructure in the cloud, the first part should be creating of a network. Creating of a network. To do this, we will have service in AWS. To do this, we will have service in AWS. We will have one service in AWS. Okay. And inside that, if you want to create a virtual machine, to do that, we will have one service in AWS. See, I'm just explaining you what all the services which are available in AWS when you compare with the real time. If someone want to host their application either in on-premises or either in cloud, first thing they have to create a network. Okay. To create a network, we will be having one service. And after that, if they want to create a server to host their application, for that, they have another service. For that, they have another service. For that, they have another service. This is one service. After that, in real time, when you see, like you will never ever access an application with an IP address. You'll always access with some xyz.com, something like that. Okay, if you want to do that, to attach this kind of domain names to our server, we will have another service. You will have another service. So to create a network, you'll have one service. To create a server, you'll have another service. To create a domain and to attach domain to that, you'll have another service. And generally, people will access and traffic will be coming to this server. For example, suddenly if the traffic is getting increased, okay, one server cannot handle. So we can create another server here and we can set some balancer here so that whenever people are accessing to this server, it routes traffic to these servers. Okay. For this, again, we have another service. To monitor this, we have one service. To monitor this, we have one service. Okay. So to store data, we have one service. Okay. To take the backup, we have one service. So learning of AWS is nothing but learning of all these services. To do everything, we'll have one other service. Okay. To monitor, we have one service. To create a network, we have one service. To create a server, we have one service. To store the data, we have one service. So that is the reason I said that we won't have any coding in this AWS. We just have services which are already developed and we only need to do where to use these services and how to use these services. So that's what we always need to do. Okay, learning of that is very simple. We just need to concentrate that, on the real-time scenarios. For example, if there is some real-time scenario, for example, if there is a real-time scenario like this, like, when someone wants to host the application, so whatever the services that need to be used there. Okay, first I have to create a network. That means I have to use a service called X. Okay, next I have to create a network, I mean virtual machine. For that I have to use this particular service, or I have to monitor it. Okay, for that I have to use this service. Similar to that, we have to use all the services which need to be used there, and we need to configure that. That's it. Learning of AWS is not more than this. Done. So now, if I shown you, for example, let's see if I want to create a virtual machine. If I want to create a virtual machine, so what I have to do? So I have to uh, collect the information that required to create virtual machine. For example, if I want to create a virtual machine, or if I want to buy a laptop, if I want to buy a laptop, so what are all the configurations that we need to have? We need to get operating system. We need to get operating system. So which operating system that I need to use, and we need to figure out how much RAM that I should use, and we need to figure out how much CPU that we should use, and we need to figure out how much storage that it requires. We always need to look at this, right? So using of all these steps, we will go and we will purchase the laptop. Similar to that, even though if you want to create virtual machine in AWS as well, you will do the same thing. You'll select whatever the operating system that you want. You will select how much RAM that you want. You will select how much CPU that you want, and you'll select how much storage that you want. But here, you will not call it as operating system, or you will not call it as uh, storage. So we have a separate service for each and every technical requirement. For each and every technical requirement, we have a service, and that we need to select. Okay, for example, if I want to select an operating system of Linux, so here, instead of calling it as operating system, we will call it as AMI. Here we'll call it as AMI, which is Amazon Mission Image. Okay, so for example, we have a lot of images that are available, like Linux images, or Windows images, or Red Hat Linux images, or Ubuntu images. So a lot of images that available in cloud. So whatever the image that we want, we always select that image. Similar to that, coming to the RAM or CPUs. So instead of calling it as RAM and CPU, we always call it as instance type. So people who already know this, you don't need to message in the chat box. You can listen it, okay? Because there are other people who are not aware of this. I'm telling it for them. So people who are already aware of it, you can just keep quiet. So you don't need to message on that chat box. So coming to the instances types. So instance types means here in this step, you'll always select how much RAM or how much CPUs that you'll be selecting to that virtual machine. For example, if I require a 2 GB memory or 4 CPUs. So for that, there will be a particular type that you should always select. Here, the instance types are divided like T family, M family, R family, D family, something like that. If I talk about T family, we have like T2 micro, T2 medium, T2 medium, something like that. For example, if I talk about T2 micro, it may get one CPU and 1 GB memory. T2 medium may get two CPUs, 4 GB memory. So based on our requirement, how much RAM and how much CPU that I required. So based on that, I will be selecting the instance type, whatever that I need. T means it is a family name. T means it is a family name. 2 means it is a generation. 2 means it is a generation. Micro means size of the instance. Micro means size of the instance. So based on that, you will be selecting how much RAM and how much memory and how much CPUs that you required. You will be selecting that instance type. Coming to the storage. Storage is something like in our laptops, we have the hard disk, right? Similar to that, we can also select some storage space to our virtual machine as well. So like whether you can have a 16 GB or 20 GB or 30 GB, up to 16 TB that you can select. And we can always increase our storage. For example, initially, if you go with 10 GB, or if you go with 20 GB. Initially, if you go with 20 GB or 30 GB, later on, if you require that, you can also increase that. You can also increase it to 1 TB, or you can also increase to 2 TB. Up to 16 TB, you can increase your storage that you allocated to your VM. Okay, so that is of creating of a VM. So you can select how much storage that you want. You can select how much CPU that you want. You can select how much what operating system that you need, and based on that you can always select. So here, to do all this, where you can do all this, so where, sir, like where I can go and where I can create this virtual machine, like what is mean by virtual machine? So virtual machine is nothing but a computer or a laptop. Computer or laptop are physically with us. We are going and we are buying that physical machine. But virtual machine is which is something which will act like a physical machine, but it won't be physically with us. It will be maintained by someone else, like the service provider which we are going with here. If I'm going with Amazon, so it the service provider, Amazon Web Services, so they will be maintaining this infrastructure. Okay, so let me show you that how we can create that machine. So you can able to see my AWS console, or let me see. So this is an AWS console. So to create this account, generally if you want to create this account, what you have to do is you have to be with your email ID and credit card or debit card that you should be there, and you should go and sign up with your email ID, with your phone number, and with your card details, and you have to give your card details there. And after giving the card details, it will route to the payment gateway, and it will debit 2 rupees from your account, and that amount will be credited back after 2 days or after 48 hours or something. You'll be getting your 2 rupees. Make sure when you are creating your AWS account, you should make sure that there are two options, which is one is business and another one is personal. Okay, if you are selecting the business, automatically the money will be debited from your account. Later on, at the end of the month, whenever the bill got generated, automatically money will be debited from your account. If you are selecting personal, money will not debit from your account automatically. And you might get some emails, they'll ask you to pay that. If you are not paying that, they will block your AWS account. Nothing will happen to your bank account. They'll just block your AWS account. Nothing will happen to your bank account. Okay. So once you create your AWS account, make sure when you're practicing something, you should always do that in one particular region. For example, if I'm doing it, okay, I'll always follow the Mumbai region because many of the AWS services are region specific. Many of AWS services are region specific. For example, if you're creating something in Mumbai region, that may not visible to the another region. So whenever you are doing something in your Mumbai region, that may not visible to another region, because regions are, many services are region specific, but some of the services are global services. Like if you create some services, if you're using some services, even though if you are moving to another region also, you might can see those services which you created. But if you are not following a single region, you will forget to delete those resources, and that will be leading to a billing. So make sure follow one region. See here, if you can see my screen, I'm following a Mumbai region. So top right side is the region. Uh, just give me 1 second, guys. Let's give me 1 second, guys. So now, if you can see this AWS account, if you can see top right side, so these are all the regions which are available in AWS. Okay, whenever you want to use your AWS account after creating, so many people have confusion to create an AWS account, like how to create an AWS account. So you can just go to the Google browser and you can type like AWS console. Let me just open with a guest so that if you can just go here, and if you can just type AWS console login, if you can go with this. Okay, so if you can go with any of the site like AWS console site, so here you'll have an option like, if you click on sign into the console, if you click on sign into the console, so here this is to log in, right? 1 second, sign into the root account. You can see this create new AWS account. Okay, if you're going and clicking on this create new AWS account, it will redirect to the AWS page. So here you have to provide your email address. For example, um, let me get some email ID. I'll provide. So you can just create one Gmail and you can, let me show you. I'll create one Gmail and I'll show you how to create the AWS account as well. So create, like, this Gmail should not be used earlier in AWS, so that only you can create a Gmail account. Create account for my personal use. So once you create your Gmail, okay, so you have created your Gmail, right? So just go to here, Gmail. So if you can just go and get copy your Gmail like this, and if you can go back here and you can give your root email address here, and you can give some name like this, verify email address. So verification code will be coming to your Gmail. See here, you'll be getting a verification email code. You can just give your 199. So you can go back and you can give it here and verify it. Now it's asked for a password. Password is, the one which you want to set it up for your AWS account. Okay, after clicking on this continue, so second, let me change. Please try a different password. Okay. Yeah. So as I said, there is very important step that you always need to remember, right? So here we have business and personal. If you select business, once you started using of your AWS account, if it get generated the bill, automatically the amount will be debited from your account. So you should not do that. You always should select personal, and again name, and country India, and contact number, and address in here also India. Hyderabad. You can select your address here, and you can select this, and you can click on continue. Now it will ask for your debit card. Okay. So here you have to give your debit card credentials. I don't want to give my debit card credentials, and make sure if it is asking for a PAN like this, you can select simply no. Don't give your PAN. Simply select your no and give the card details, and 2 rupees will be debited from your account, and there will be an OTP which is coming to your AWS account. Just enter it, and the account will be get created like this, and you can able to log into your AWS account. And top right side, you can see Mumbai region here, right? So I'm selecting the Mumbai region here. So as I said, I'll show you how to create a virtual machine, right? So if I want to create a virtual machine, as I said, for each and everything, there will be a service available in AWS. To create virtual machine, we have a service called EC2. You can see, you can type it here, EC2. EC2 means Elastic Compute Cloud. So you can select EC2 Compute Cloud. Here in AWS, the name virtual machine, instead of calling it as virtual machine, we always call it as instance. You can see instance. You can click on instance. Okay, there will be an option to launch instance. There will be an option to launch instance. If you click on launch instance, so you can give the instance name here. And as I said, we should select an operating system, right? We should select an operating system. So Amazon Linux, Mac OS, Ubuntu, Windows. So these are all operating systems. So whatever the operating system that we want, we'll select that operating system. And as I said about instance types, see if you can see T2 Micro, it is having 1 CPU and 1 GB memory. So we'll be selecting that. And key pair. So key pair, which is a security part. If we click on create key pair, I'm giving Naresh IT, and I'm selecting PPK file. So this will be used at the time of login to the instance. So if I click on create key pair, it downloads a key pair into my local. And scroll down, click on launch instance. Default VPC. Let me create a subnet. Subnet is not available. So don't worry about this VPC concept. This is something a networking concept again. So VPCs, so we have one VPC here, internet gateway. Let me attach this to VPC. So don't worry about this concept. Okay. So I'm just showing you how to create a VM. So to create a VM, we need a network. So I'm setting up a network for that. So we'll do one thing. Let me try with another AWS account. If it is having a default VPC, that would be great. If not, we'll come here and we'll create a network. So if you can go to the EC2 now. So launch instance. Naresh IT, operating system, T2 micro, create new key pair, PPK, create new key pair. So this is how you will launch your EC2 instance. See, whenever I create an instance, it is getting created. And if I go back to the instances here, I can able to see my instances here. You can see this instance. So this is nothing but our computer. But here we have selected Linux operating system. Okay, if I want to select Windows operating system, if I can go back and launch instance, if I select Windows here, I would have select here like Windows. So simply Windows I'm selecting here. Key pair, Windows, create key pair, and launch instance. If you go back, if you refresh this, see, Windows instance is also getting created. If you want to start or if you want to stop these instances, you can go back. So you can go up here, instance state, stop, reboot, terminate. Stop means the instance will get stopped. Later on, if you want, you can start the instance. If you're terminating the instance, it will gone. So you cannot get your instance back again. You cannot get your instance back again. If I refresh here, see, let's try to log into the Windows instance so you'll get more understanding. Go to the Windows, see, click on connect. So you can click on RDP client here. See, username is administrator. If you want to get the password, should click on get. We need to wait for 4 minutes to generate the password. So let's wait. So select here, go to connect, RDP client, get password. Yes, upload the file which you have given at the time of creation. So go to the downloads. It will be downloaded in your downloads, window pane, decrypt password. Okay, we got a password. We have to save this password somewhere in the notepad. So we have to paste it here. Now to log into this, we should go back and we should copy the public IP of the instance and open RDP. There won't be any recycle bin. So once you deleted it, that's gone. That's it. So remote desktop. So you'll be pasting your public IP here, connect it. Administrator and password which we have generated. Control C, Control V. Okay. Yes. So it will take just 1 minute. So it will looks like the same like your Windows machine because we have selected the Windows operating system. First time it will take more time. From the second time, it won't take much. See, so this is our Windows machine. Since we have selected Windows, it looks like our Windows machine only. The same, like, everything like our computer. So this is how we can create a Windows machine and we can log into it. Hope you are all clear. I've just shown you how to create a VM. That's it. So now, if anyone is having doubts, so they can just raise your hand, so I can I can allow you to talk, or I can allow you to ask your question. Yes, Krishna, you can unmute and you can ask me the question.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Sir, in the time of account creation, can you use RuPay debit card?
RuPay it won't allow actually. Either Master or Visa it will allow.
Okay, sir. RuPay is not accepted.
Yeah, RuPay is not accepted.
Okay, sir. Okay.
Okay, even if your account cards are not accepting, either it may be a Master or Visa, check your international transactions enabled or not on
Okay.
that card. Okay, so
Okay,
then
sir.
it will work. Okay,
Okay, sir. Thank you.
you can just mute.
Yeah.
Sachin Narayana, yeah, please. You can unmute and you can ask me. Krishna, you can just mute yourself, please.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Sir,
Yeah,
this,
Satyanarayana.
sir, are you able to hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Please tell.
Yeah. This, regarding IaaS platform service and another one, can you give me examples, sir? What it is?
See, IaaS means infrastructure as a service. Okay. Infrastructure means creating of a VMs. Okay. Creating of a load balancers. So all these are all infrastructure as a service. So these services are provided in AWS to create all those, because we can create all those infrastructure, but I mean, we don't need to maintain it. Okay. AWS will maintain that. Coming to the software as a platform as a service on software as a service, we have some applications which are already available in AWS, so that we can use it in our real time if it is compatible for our requirement. And the other one is platform as a service. Instead of we creating the infrastructure, if we are giving the details, AWS will create an infrastructure and everything. For example, if I want to develop an application, okay, I can focus on the code. I can upload the code, the virtual machine or load balancer or monitoring setup, and everything will be doing on behalf of us. Cloud will be doing. So this is how we'll call it as infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. So
Then,
you'll, yeah,
sir,
please.
you showed the example creating one instance, EC2
Yes,
instance. Is
yes.
it?
Infrastructure as a service.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank
Thank you. So please mute yourself so others will ask. Dhanraj. Yeah. Yeah, Dhanraj, you can unmute and you can ask me. Dhanraj, you are on mute. You can unmute and you can ask me. I allowed you to talk.
Hello.
Yeah. Hi, Dhanraj.
So the classes are paid or free?
So you can just contact to the Naresh IT. They'll be giving you the all details. Okay.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. Vamsi Krishna, I allowed you. Please unmute and ask me. Vamsi Krishna, you're on mute. You can unmute and you can ask me. I allowed you to talk. You have to unmute yourself to talk. Okay. So any others? Any others is having any questions? Sanjay. Yeah, Sanjay. 1 second. Yeah. Yes, Sanjay. You can ask. No. You can unmute and you can ask me. Kavya, I allowed you to talk. You can unmute and you can ask me.
Sir, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, actually, I want to know the way you're going to teach the classes. So, like every day, would you be showing the practicals like this and teaching along the way?
Exactly. So every day, whatever
Okay,
the topic that we are discussing theoretically, okay?
okay,
So not,
right.
for example, in oral or course content, whatever
Mm.
the topic I'm explaining theoretically, that will be shown practically to you. Okay. Next, Abhishek Kumar. Yeah. Abhishek Kumar, I allowed you. You can just unmute and you can ask me.
Hello.
Yeah, Abhishek.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Abhishek.
Yes, sir. I'm asking about the account. Sir, I have Visa card, and also I want to create the AWS account. Then I have been getting error like auto debit option. The amount
See,
of 2
if
rupees
you
will
are
be deducted, but
once you created an account, okay,
yes,
by selecting
sir.
the business, okay,
No, sir. Personal use for personal
you
use.
selected the personal use, but it is debiting. I mean, auto debit is happening from your account.
Yes, sir.
So, did any amount is debited from you from your account?
Yes, sir. 2 rupees.
2 rupees will debit. That
Yes.
doesn't matter. Like if any bill got generated, that bill is getting debited from your account.
Yes, sir. In the statement is showing that 2 rupees of amount is deducted from my account and
How much
also
amount that
return
it is
from
deducted? How much amount that is deducted?
2 rupees.
Forgot about 2 rupees. I'm not talking about 2 rupees. Is
Yes,
there
sir.
any amount like when you created some resources, some bill will get generated, right? $100 or $50 or
No,
$5.
sir. No,
Will
sir.
that bill is
No,
got debiting from your account?
no, sir.
That no problem then.
Sir, so my AWS account is not created right now. How do?
I shown you right to create your how to create the AWS account.
Sir, sir, after that account एक्टिवेट नहीं हो रहा है सर मतलब अकाउंट क्रिएट नहीं हो पा रहा बस वहां से उसके बाद एरर आ जाता है कि योर ऑटो डेबिट और उसके
No,
बाद
if you selected
नॉट
auto
एक्टिवेट
debit, see. If you selected personal account, it will not show you auto debit. See, if I'm showing my screen. See, if you go to the account here,
यस सर
so left side, you can see all these options. Okay, billing and payments. So where you are, getting that option, like how can you say that it is getting auto debited?
सर जब अकाउंट क्रिएट करते हैं ना तो डेबिट कार्ड का जो डिटेल्स डालना होता है
It won't debit. It won't debit. It won't debit.
तो सर उस टाइम जैसे ही डालते हैं उसके बाद 2 रुपए की डिडक्शन होती है उसके बाद आगे प्रोसेस नहीं
Can
हो
you can you
पाता है
ask me in English? Can you ask me in English?
आफ्टर डिडक्शन ऑफ द 2 रुपीज cannot go ahead my account and still showing error.
After debiting 2 rupees, you still not able to access your account.
Yes, after few
Come
days
to this page. Okay, come to this page here in the payments. So you have to add the payment method again. If the payment method is not successfully done, so it will show you that error. So you have to come to this payments method, and if your payment verification is not yet done, it shows you. You have to verify that.
okay, sir.
Okay.
Okay,
Next,
thank you.
1 second. People are in queue. Please mute yourself. And yeah, Margaret Stanlis is, I think, right? So I have unmuted you. You can just ask me the question.
So I have two questions.
Yes.
Could you provide a real-time example where AWS will act as a SaaS, a scenario where it will act as a PaaS and then the infrastructure?
Infrastructure, I've just shown you, right? For
Yeah,
example, infrastructure, I've shown you. So this is one example.
Mm-hmm.
SaaS and PaaS, to understand that, we have to know the AWS services which are available inside the account. For example, we have one of the service called Elastic Beanstalk. Okay. Or we have the one of the service called Lambda function. Okay. So here, using of these services, you don't need to create any infrastructure from your end. AWS will create infrastructure on behalf of you. For example, if I talk about Elastic Beanstalk, okay, there it will ask you what kind of application that you want to build. Okay, what kind of code that you are using. So it will ask you, and simply if you are uploading the code, it will just create all the monitoring services, all the infrastructure and everything for you.
Okay, in that scenario, it will act as a pass.
Yes, pass.
Okay. And SaaS?
SaaS also, we have some services in AWS which acts as a SaaS. Okay.
Mhm.
So there, it meets to some of the business deliveries. For example, AWS organizations, there is one of the service. Okay. So these SaaS services are like, software as a services. You don't need to build the software separately. That software,
Okay.
you can use it for your infrastructure.
Got it, got it.
So that services you'll be using.
Okay, got it. It's clear. And the second question is, how do I set up, let's say like when we are doing some kind of a practicals, we might end up launching services or using some
Yes.
resources which will be chargeable, right?
Yes,
Is there
yes.
any configuration in the billing and the
In
cost management?
billing, you can do one thing. So you can put some threshold value. For example,
Yeah.
if I'm exceeding more than this, okay, if you want to
Okay.
receive an alert to your email,
Okay.
so that you can do it.
Could you show me if you don't mind where to
So for
put
example,
that?
if you, yeah. So if you see, you can see the budgets here, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you can create a budget to
Okay.
track your usage. You can click on the create budget,
Mm-hmm.
monthly cost budget. You can give the budget amount and you can give
Okay.
the emails so that whenever you cross that limit, it sends you an email.
Okay. So is this a free service?
Free service, free service.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. So who all? Sanjay Soni is done and Satyanarayan is done. Abhishek is done. Okay then. So if others is not having any questions, you can leave. So for more details, you can reach out to the Naresh IT Technologists. So then they'll guide you. Okay. Okay, guys. Then so I'm ending up the session. Meet you soon. Bye. So one just second, and I can see a few questions in chat box. Let me just answer those questions. Edge location. Yeah. So edge locations will be used for many of the services. For example, there is a service called CloudFront. So something has stored temporarily. That is called edge location. Instead of, for example, there is a service called S3. Whenever you want to access a data from S3, directly you'll be accessing to the S3. But if you put CloudFront in middle, so whenever it accessed, it will be stored sometime in the edge location. Next time from near to that location, if someone accessing the same object, it will not go to the root folder. It will not download from there. It will be giving it from edge location so that we can reduce the cost of using those edge locations. And thus, if I am a final year college student, I'm considering purpose of career. It would be a very good career option because no one will migrate from cloud to on-premises again. People will migrate from on-prem to cloud. No one will migrate cloud to on-prem again. So it will be a good for you to do it. SaaS, I already explained, 2 rupees debited, no worry. Applications on AWS, we can host many applications on AWS, like, using of these EC2 instances on any other services. Yeah, so Kavya, it is covering the AWS Solution Architect course as well. Okay. Okay then.